In DLC 1 of Black Ops Zombies, we received a new, yet familiar map, Ascension. Extracted from the campaign, the Soviet Cosmodrome contained an endless wave of the undead in a mission to free Dr. Gersh from the Casimir mechanism. Ascension was one of the most important zombies maps we have ever received, not only in terms of the storyline, but in terms of the progression of zombies and the gameplay. I wouldn't say Ascension is universally accepted as a top 10 map. There are some people out there with legitimate reasons to dislike this map. It isn't without its flaws, but in my opinion, and many others, it is one of the most important and one of the best maps we've ever played. And today, we're going to analyze why Ascension was such a great map. I do this every Sunday night with the Treyarch Zombies map, so hit that subscribe button to not miss it. I know it's not Sunday night as you're watching this. I'm sorry I was a little bit busy over the weekend. It's for this exact reason you should go follow me on Twitter, because I update you guys as to what I am doing if I'm not uploading. But without further ado, let's talk about Ascension. The Ascension project was a group of scientists researching and experimenting with Element 115 in a Soviet Union cosmodrome. They were essentially the Russian version of Group 935 or Division 9. Having been heavily inspired by Group 935, the Ascension group led by Dr. Gersh had three main projects: Project Thunder, Project Mercury, and the Ascension Project. With this research came two wonder weapons: the Gersh device, which allowed for teleportation and access to ether, and the Thunder gun. Yuri is the other well-known scientist working with the Ascension group alongside Gersh. He worked alongside Gersh with Project Mercury for some time, but was eventually delegated to shipping monkeys into outer space. At some point, Yuri was able to contact Samantha through Aether and was gradually driven into madness. He would become what we know as the Pentagon Thief that we see in 5, which is one of the very many links between the two maps. And as for Gersh, well, he gets trapped in the Casimir mechanism. And freeing Gersh is the premise of this Easter egg, the first main Easter egg in Zombies history. This Easter egg requires 4 players, but has some quick and painless steps and can be done within an hour. And as a reward for doing the Easter egg, you're granted a 90-second death machine, which isn't great, but for the first one ever, I would say isn't too bad. The story behind Ascension is truly fascinating. We don't know much about the research that was taking place. We don't know much about the wonder weapons, the individual scientists that were working on them. We don't know the motivations and intentions behind every character. We know so much about Group 935, but we don't know a ton about this group. Why did they ship monkeys into outer space? I'm not quite sure. Were the Gersh devices developed with a true intention of being a means for teleportation, or were they developed for a means of mass destruction? Not only is it interesting to theorize about the Ascension group, but it's also interesting to see how scientists from different parts of the world experiment with Element 115. You had the Nazis developing teleporters and zombies and the Wunderwaffe. You had Division 9 working with wildlife. The Americans developed a couple of their own wonder weapons and worked on animals like pigs and monkeys. It's cool to see what the Russians did as well. It's cool to see a different perspective and what someone else could engineer with Element 115. This map, along with 5, were the first maps that truly deviated from the basic Nazi storyline. Shi no Numa played with the idea, but I think to a lesser extent. The story is relatively ambiguous. We don't know much, but with the chunk we do know, we adore. Although Ascension isn't at the forefront of the zombie storyline, it's one of the more unique sides of it. It has many links with 5, including the Red Telephone, the Pentagon Thief, and there are many references to the Illuminati as well, which is its own video in itself. And what's also very interesting, especially for history geeks like myself, is that this Cosmodrome, this entire map, is a product of the space race and the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the US. These were real events that were, of course, twisted and warped for this zombie storyline, but it's nonetheless fascinating to see the connections there. I won't bore you with every minute detail of Ascension's story, but largely I would say that it's significant. Not the most significant, but it pulls its own weight, and it's interesting and sets itself apart from the other maps. So, Richtofen and the Ultimus crew travel from the Keynoter Toten facility to Ascension via a lunar lander. They fight off endless waves of the undead and free Gersh from the Casimir mechanism. Now we're going to dive into Ascension's gameplay. It's interesting. It's also controversial. A lot of people don't like certain aspects of the map, but let's talk about it. Ascension was one of the most innovative maps of all time and introduced so many new features to zombies that we use to this day. Though there was no double tap, we were given 2 new Perk-a-Colas: PhD Flopper, disabling all splash damage and allowing you to flop and create an explosive ring around you, and also Stamina Up Soda, which allowed you to sprint much faster and gave you higher endurance. These 2 perks are not only some of the most iconic perks ever, but they're also some of the most revolutionary. The ability to sprint faster changed zombies. A perk that took away splash damage entirely opened up so many new doors and so many new strategies for survival. Explosive weapons like the Mustang and Sally and the ray gun were better than ever. PhD Flopper was such a good perk that it was actually deemed overpowered. Treyarch would later take it out of zombies altogether and would tease it to us in several maps. Aside from Verrucht introducing the core function of perks to begin with, Ascension would be the map that changed zombies the most through perks. PhD Flopper took zombies by storm, and it's difficult to imagine zombies nowadays without stamina. Turning on power and activating Pack-a-Punch was similar to previous maps, but did it in its own fashion. You would ride the 3 lunar landers scattered around the map to the main console in spawn, which would then allow you to launch the rocket, therefore opening up Pack-a-Punch, which was a cool system. Very similar to activating the main frame through the teleporters on Doris, but different. And these lunar landers would of course be a cheap and quick method for transportation. Both the Gersh devices and the Matryoshka dolls were introduced on this map. And of course, the space monkeys. They're controversial. They're an alternative to the hellhounds. Every 4 or 5 rounds, they come in and attempt to steal your perk-a-colas. They're tiny, hard to shoot, and very difficult to kill. They jump onto your perk machines, they fuck it, and render your perk gone, which is oftentimes extremely frustrating. After you kill all of them, you receive a max ammo, and if you kill all of them without them touching any of your perk machines, you get a free perk, so there's a compensation there, which is why I don't really mind them personally. Don't get me wrong, when they slip past you and steal one of your perks, especially Quick Revive, which has limited uses, it makes me want to go to the zoo, climb in the monkey exhibit, and strangle a couple of them. But if you're used to them and know how to control them and where they may or may not go, they're not that difficult, and plus, if you get a free perk and lose it, it's not a big deal. You'll just get another free perk. It kind of just alternates in and out like that. I think the reward for killing them compensates for the punishment of not. I do think they're one of the most aggravating bosses in zombies, but I do believe that they are fair and honestly a vital challenge for Ascension, which I will get into very shortly. Plus, they actually match the atmosphere and the story of the map, much like most bosses. You're not confused as to why they're there. It makes sense. And you can't talk about a Russian map without talking about the sickle. It was introduced here. So as you can see, there was a myriad of things that Ascension brought to the table that are still helpful to this day in zombies. It was sort of a small revolution, very similar to Doris in World at War. Ascension's gameplay is captivating, interesting, and most of all innovative, but there is an elephant in the room. Ascension is, without a doubt, one of the easiest zombies maps of all time. For 2 reasons. One, there is an astronomical amount of space on Ascension. You have half a dozen viable training areas. You could fit every player in your match in an area and train flawlessly. And to tag along with that, reason number 2 is the Thunder Gun, which is one of the best wonder weapons of all time, gets you out of any bad situation. It can kill an entire wave of zombies, it has infinite damage, it has a couple dozen shots when upgraded. The Thunder Gun is an absolute beast. The only drawback for this weapon is you can't get max ammos with it. Ammo can be an issue, but even so, you can go into spawn and kill the zombies with that giant rotating spindle. You can also use the traps. And with those 2 factors combined, the map is mind-numbingly easy. All you realistically need is Juggernog and a Thunder Gun, and you're pretty much set for the entire game. The Space Monkeys, like I said earlier, offer a challenge, a much needed challenge. But again, if you only realistically need 1 or 2 perks, how effective are they going to be? For example, when I play this map, my 2 necessities, my 2 core perks are Juggernog and Quick Revive. Everything else is a bonus. I do tend to grab Stamina Up and PhD Flopper. Since Quick Revive is the only perk with limited uses, I have to cover that. And while doing so, I can also cover Jug. On the higher rounds, when I have hundreds of thousands of points and the monkeys steal those bonus perks, it means nothing. I can buy the perks back, and it's as though nothing had ever happened. Losing Quick Revive is the only detrimental loss, which is another reason why this map is so easy, and why the Space Monkeys really only offer a challenge on lower rounds when you're limited on points. And as if it wasn't already easy, it seemed to get even easier with the remaster in Black Ops 3. In this version, you had access to overpowered Gobblegum, double Pack-a-Punch, which of course makes any gun infinite damage, a Wonder Fizz machine, which also included Deadshot Daiquiri and Double Tap 2, a Ray Gun Mark II was added, and generally everything got even easier. Getting to round 100 doesn't take much effort on this map. It does take a while. As you can tell, the other day I had an 8-hour stream getting to round 100 on this map, but it's not difficult. It just takes a while. It's debatable whether or not Ascension is the easiest map of all time. It's without a doubt in the top 5. There are some other very easy maps like Buried and Revelations, for example. There is no disputing it though. Ascension is a very easy map. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. Of course, for hardcore players that like a challenge, yeah. For casual players, one could argue it's actually perfect. It really depends on who you are, whether or not you like an easy map or a challenging map. Totally personal preference. The way I look at Ascension is anyone can hop on, have fun, and do very well, and at least get to round 30 without much of a problem. It's the map I would recommend to beginners who want to learn how to train. You have a ton of space and a very dependable wonder weapon. You can learn the tactics and the methods in which you want to hoard up the zombies. In fact, it was one of the maps that popularized training. This, Kino Toten, Darice to a certain extent, and Shinonuma. Ascension is extraordinarily easy, but we shouldn't allow that to take away its greatness. And vice versa, we shouldn't let an extremely challenging map take away from its greatness. I think Ascension's pros heavily outweigh the cons. You had a great atmosphere, a great vibe, a great story to follow, very interesting and unique. The map innovated just as much as any other map, if not more. It presented the first main Easter egg ever, and was sort of a mini revolution in Black Ops 1 Zombies. And as a bonus, this map is super nostalgic. My friends and I all camping near the lunar landers together, or if I'm playing solo, just training on my own, blasting away zombies with a thunder gun, throwing an occasional Gersh device, scrambling around the map trying to kill the monkeys before they steal my perks. It's chaotic, it's fun, it's got everything a good, well-rounded map should have. And that's why I think Ascension is a great map, despite its several flaws. I don't think Ascension does one particular thing better than every other Zombies map, but I also think it's very well-rounded. It does everything very well. I could talk all day about this map and really every map, but I think I'm gonna end it right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Tell me what you think of Ascension down below in the comments. Which version do you like more, BO1 or BO3? I would love to know. Definitely subscribe, like I said earlier. Go follow me on Twitter. That link is in the description. I'm gonna be hanging out with friends quite a bit this week since I'm on vacation, but I am also gonna be posting quite a bit, so definitely stay tuned. I got some big videos in the works, and I guess until then, see you later.